Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's June 29th. This will be our chart lesson for today. This is going to wrap our week up. No chart lesson on Fridays. Um, really strong trend down today, and this is one of those days where you get these trends that just keep going, and you get lots of little small bars, and it just keeps going and going and going, and you don't really get real clean, easy setups a lot of times on these days. So you just have to take what will give you, or you're not going to find an entry. And today was one of those days. There's a few trades here that were really easy, and there's a few of them that I glossed over and probably could mark if you argued for the fact that this is one of those trends where, notice this, especially right here. This is when you see this, it's the same thing here. Same thing coming down. You just get all these little small bars, and you get a lot of, there's hardly really big moves, but it just keeps going lower and lower and lower, and you get a lot of dojis mixed in there, and you'll get a little sideways stuff. But it doesn't look like it, but these are really strong trends, and you want to trade with a trend for the most part. Um, I expected we'd probably get a correction in here somewhere, which we did. I really thought we'd get a little bigger correction than this, but it is what it is, and you got to be ready. And you just didn't get a real good chance to enter here on anything clean um, because of the type day it is. It's these little bars, and there's not a lot of breaks higher. So you really could argue to enter anywhere down through here. Um, The only reason I didn't mark more trades down this short-term trend line is because we're so far away from the EMA. And even on a strong trend, eventually you're going to snap back. And we do right here real strongly. You don't want to try to ride those back because you might have tried to pick any one of these and you would have just got burned. So don't try picking any bottoms on these. You know, we got one long in here, but we had a break of this trend and two legs down to a new low and then a reversal pattern. So you expect we're going to get a correction here. Again, I really thought we'd get a bigger correction than that, but that just tells you how weak of a day it was and how strong the selling was. And we just started selling off. And right off the bat, I would have looked for a measured move. Measure that one. And you see that gets you down to right in here where we were at, but then it just keeps on going. And by that time, you've got another trend line established right here with multiple touches. And so, you just want to start selling again. And then we finally get one more reversal pattern in here. And I want to talk about this because this is it's really easy to get tripped up right here. And there's probably some valid shorts in here. I didn't mark any of them. Especially when we made this third higher high here and couldn't go higher, there's a chance then that you may break higher, and you might have even considered a short here on this failed break higher, because this is a strong channel coming down, and this is the first break. But so you'd expect we'd get a retest, but I guess the market was just overdone and we went higher. So, and there is a reversal pattern right here that I liked. Notice the new low here, and then you push right through the EMA. Really, all of this was already through the EMA. We pushed right through right here. So I guess the market had just sold off so much that, we had to have a little bounce here. And I would have looked for a measured move right here once it went higher. But it would have been really tempting to take a couple of these shorts. So that would have been your measured move, but we continued high. We actually kind of went sideways after that. But anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades that are pretty obvious, and we'll wrap up the week. The first trade I saw was right after I came in at the 7 o'clock hour. There's nothing telling here. This looks like a range day, and you got a double test here of this high. And the only reason this is not a red one is because that's not a very good signal bar. You might have let it break lower and dropped a limit order in, and you could have gotten filled at least a tick, maybe two ticks back into this bar. And if you could, being that far away from the EMA on going sideways, we're probably coming back at least to the EMA, and maybe to test this low and this low, the overnight low right in here, and that's exactly where we went before we had a little bounce and went lower. Um, but notice, so that's the only reason that one's not red. You might could argue for that to be, it's real close to being red, but that's just not a good enough, a very good bar on a first entry because we got a new low there, and that's just a first entry short. But it is a double test. It does look like a range. There's lots of reasons to think going short right there. So, but notice we shoot down. You get a first entry. We get a little failed break lower there, a second entry, and it just starts going sideways. And so when it broke lower here, that's a failed second entry long. And so I like that one. Plus, you kind of got that trend line on those first two bars, and then you're just kind of creeping down. This actually should be over this bar. Well, actually, I take that back. You could still go short right there, but when you got that doji in there and then this next bar, it probably would have been better when it bounces back and then go low. You still could argue for this one too. But this was the one I meant to have it over. I'll mark this one green right here because there's some reasons, a couple of reasons to be concerned and to wait on that next bar. But notice what it did. It touched, it turns down, it comes back, it tries it again, and then it turns. I would have liked it even better if it broke higher, but this is a failed second entry long, and when it broke lower here, it's a second entry short. Notice the low, first entry, then you get a higher low, and so that's a second entry short. Again, I would have liked it better if it went higher first, but that really confirmed that trend line. You got all those, you can see those closes down through there. And then it comes back and it tests it again. And at that point, I would have at least measured this right here. And then you're looking for a measured move down here. And so now you're getting another second entry right off the trend line. Really, this is your signal bar. But when it broke lower here and closed on its very low, that's the only problem with going short on that bar is that it's, you're going short at the low of the day. This one's still real close, but we don't have that measured move. And even here, we didn't have it. If you had enough room, if your bar was similar to this and you had enough room to get out, I'd probably willing to enter there too. So either one of those, I don't know if I'd do them both because you're really taking a little bit of chance of going short that low. But this is looking like a really strong trend now. I mean, this is not a super strong trend at this point, but once we make this next leg down and we went way past the measured move there, and then we start lower here again, it's looking like a pretty strong trend at that point. So you get a little bounce here, you get a close outside, and you're still below the EMA. You come back, you test it once, pull back, you test it twice, and it's a lower high, and this probably traps some longs right here, people trying to pick a bottom, a double bottom there. And that's a really bearish bar. So I like that one. And again, it takes lower. But now you've got a break and one leg down with two legs in it and then a second leg down. So you got to be careful going short now. So on that first entry right there, I'm probably not going to risk that. And then I'm definitely not going to risk going short at the very low of the day, and because this is what happens, it bounces on you. It would have stopped you out, then went down and made a new low right here and then bounced. But you really made a double bottom here, and then you get a first entry, you got a lower low, but then you get a first entry short. Look how you push right through the EMA. Second entry short, it goes lower and fails and turns, it goes out the other side. I like going long there. You might catch the low of the day if this is a reversal. But at any rate, you're expecting a little correction here because we've had a break of this trend channel and two legs down to a new low, and then you got a little bit of a reversal pattern here. So I like that one. You do get a little bit of a close outside here and here, but it's so close that I don't know if I would risk this short right here. Your trend line's off those first few closes right there, so and it pretty much fits on this side. So you got to expect that this is probably correct, and we just haven't had a convincing close outside, although we are a little bit away from the EMA on what's been a pretty strong trend down. So you might risk that one. I think you're better off to skip it And of course, you get this trend working down here. It was easy to get it off the low side and drag it up. You can see it fits nicely, and it's fitting all the way. This really confirmed it right here, but you know, it's a first entry. It's at the low of the day, and notice how it looks like it's going to bounce, and then it turns up. And so you got a double top right there. So then you get a first entry long, second entry, and it goes higher. It actually goes down, then reverses, and then comes back down again. Um, I liked entering there. It's really aggressive because it's the low of the day. But notice how it's still creeping down that trend line. And at this point, you're looking for a measured move like this whole leg down here. And we got a long way to go. But look how far we've been away from the EMA. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Look how far we've been away from the EMA and how long. It's just risky, but notice it. We've got all those little bars and little sideways, lots of dojis. That's a strong trend, and by this time you got to recognize this looks like a strong trend day, and no more correction than we got here. It's still pointing to a strong trend day. So if you're going to enter, you're going to have to take some chances on a day like this. And notice how we just keep pulling back. And now you probably wouldn't have this midline here yet, or otherwise I would have liked this even better. That's why it keeps turning down there. Even though we're outside this little short-term trend line here, you got this bigger trend channel. It's a midline, but you probably wouldn't have that yet. So you don't really recognize that's what's happening. But you could have really tried to enter on any of these coming down through here if you'd have known that, but you don't know that, so these are all risky. But again, it's a strong trend, lots of little bars, and you're not going to get really good entries like you would expect. This is a repeat pattern. This trade is really tempting here, but you've had a close outside of this little short term one. You don't really have the big one in play yet because you don't have enough price action. You might have drawn this right here and drug it up, but even so, you still got probably working back over to this trend line if it's correct. And so even though that's a second entry and a repeat pattern, it looks very similar to this up here. You just don't have a very good signal bar. So you might have used this one, let it break lower, then dropped a limit order back in here where you would have gone short below that one. But I just think you're asking for trouble by doing that, because we could have continued to go sideways, or we could have bounced back to a possible trend line over here. But by being patient, you still get a chance to enter when it gives you another push up and turns down right there and gives you a second entry short. Actually, it's really not a second entry short. It's just a lower high after a double top and a downtrend. So and it's all off the EMA. So I like that one. You got enough room to get out before this low, and definitely before this low. You're really close to that one, but this is the one you're more concerned about at this point, and then that one would be next. And then we make a new low, we bounce. It comes back up here. Notice you've got a first entry, you pull back, and then you got a second entry, and that's just a huge, huge bar, and it actually went higher first and then turns down. And so I like going short just below that bar. But even on this one, you could have let it break lower. It's so big that it makes it hard to get in. It makes it scary to get in. So, but you could have gotten in maybe 2 or 3 ticks back into this bar here. But again, you're always almost better to wait and see if you get another entry. And notice what happens. You got a new high here. Plus, this is like a retest of this resistance across here. So that's another reason. I don't have the line on there, but it's there. But you have a new swing high and you pull back first entry, you get a measured leg down. Second entry, it fails and you get that bearish bar. So, I mean, as hard as it is to find an entry today, I'm going to take that one because we've got plenty of room before this next low. And then it pulls back and it looks like it's going to be a trap, and it turns down right off that trend line and confirms it. So I'm going to enter again there. And the fact that it just keeps making lower lows and lower highs, it really starts going sideways here. But if this had been a little better signal bar, I probably would have said add on or enter here as well.
This one's too bullish, and then you got to go short right into this next low. So I don't like those. So just you got to kind of be patient. Again, if you'd taken them, any of them would have worked, and you might have convinced yourself by this time that, yeah, this is a strong trend. Um, but notice what happens if you're just patient. You get a new low, first entry, pullback, second entry, big bear, I wouldn't say a big, but a bearish reversal type bar. Just what you want to see right at the trend line with the EMA behind it. So go short there. And, a couple of these, if you catch them, you just ride them all the way down. You don't need but one or two entries today and catch a runner, and you just ride them all down. So, but notice what happens. You got a new high here. It's higher than this swing high. First entry. Actually, you get a second entry there, but it's right at the low, and then it pulls back and really makes a double top, and it gives you another little small. This is a low risk bar, so I like entering again because we're not down to this line, to the midline, and we're definitely not down to the lower line. So. And once again, if you catch this one, it just takes off, and you got another runner. Um, it bounces here. You do get a nice reversal pattern. If you'd have taken it, it would have worked. But that's the first close outside this big, huge channel, and this is a strong downtrend. So you don't want to take many chances going long here. You want a sure thing. Um, I would have been more inclined to go short here and then maybe short again here. By that time, when it just kept making the higher lows, I would have exited here. If you got short on one of these, uh, you could have still got out with a tick or two, or definitely a break even easily before it broke higher here. And and I almost like going short here because this is a trading range, but the fact that we're making these higher lows all the way up here, um, that generally is a sign you're probably going to break higher. And if you measure that move over here and then bring this over, you're looking for a pretty good move here if we get it. And so notice what happens. It pushes up, it pulls back. I'm still not ready to go long, but when you get that failed second entry short, and I like that nice bar, you figure you're probably going to have a lot of these shorts are going to all exit now, and see how it rockets on up. So I like going long there on that one, just at least to try to catch a measured move. You don't know that it's going to keep going like that, but you do get a close outside, two legs up, and then it reverses. Really more sideways across here, but this would have, if this wasn't after 3 o'clock, this would have been a nice setup here. So to the short side. But yeah, I only marked this one trade after here because you really would still be looking for shorts all through here, and you just really don't get a good short setup except for right here and maybe right here. And again, if you got tricked on those, which would be easy to do because I like these myself, um, it gave you a chance to get out. You got a freebie on that one, so take it, especially when you make these higher lows here. So I hope that's clear. That's your only sign that you might better get out. Is that the fact that you're going sideways and we traded up into this because you're gonna continue out with another leg in the direction you traded into it, so you would think we'd probably go higher here. But when you also get these higher lows each time, even though you got a flat top here, you're getting these higher lows. Prices are just really stuck between the EMA and this resistance point here. And that's why it's making higher lows each time, but why it can't go higher as well. So, yeah, these days are kind of deceiving again. When you see lots of little bars that just keep going lower and lower and lower, and you don't get a lot of corrections, and then when you do get a correction, it's just a little slight one. And what's so bad is that you'll get traders that will try to buy. They'll say, "Oh, there's a trap here," and they're trying to buy all the way down, and they just keep losing and losing and losing. And then they'll finally decide to get short right in here, and they get trapped and burned, and it goes the other way. And they like, I can't win for losing. And I've been there, I've done that, I made those mistakes myself. It's just part of the learning curve. So the key is getting the experience and learning to recognize the type day it is. And it was pretty obvious early on when we're trading down this hard that, yeah, we might get a correction here at some point, but we'll probably make another leg down before the day's over. And that was pretty obvious. That's typical of what you would expect on price action like this after the regular open. And, I talked about that in the mid-morning recap, so you can go back and read that. And that's exactly, I really thought we'd get a bigger correction than this, but that doesn't matter. You follow the price action, and once you realize once you got a new trend going lower, you start getting short in here again. So you kind of have to be patient here, and it's hard. It's really hard to watch this go down without you. And but if you recognize the type of day we had, I wouldn't be against any of these pullbacks to the EMA. I'm sorry, not to the EMA, to the trend line until right in here, because we've been away from this thing a long time. And once we start going lower here, don't risk it anymore. Wait on a correction that's going to come, which is right in here, and then right in here. And so, yeah. Again, if you caught one of these over here, especially if you caught this one up here, you're probably done before 10 o'clock. You don't have to worry about all this. You can just sit here and watch it and learn and get some screen time. Take some sim trades and practice on it. So that's the key to a day like this, is not trying to take a lot of entries, because you're going to catch a lot of runners. So just catch it, try to get one or two entries and hold on to a runner and let it go and see how much you can get out of it. So that's my recommendation on a day like this. And if you get a short-term trend line like this, just take everything off of it that gives you a little, anything that looks like a half decent trade, you just about have to take it, or you're not going to get one, because there aren't a lot of perfect trades on days like this. It's really confusing, especially for traders that aren't used to seeing these kind of days. We had one to the upside the other day, and I talked about it then. You'll get a day like this to the downside eventually. I didn't expect to see it this quickly, but here it is. So you got to always be prepared for what the day gives you. And as you get experience and you sit here and watch this every day, you'll start to have a good idea of what the day is going to do overall. You won't know exactly how it's going to do it, just like I didn't know exactly where it would turn down again, but I figured we'd get a correction, and then we'd get another trend down that wasn't quite as steep as this one. This, to be honest with you, this is still a really steep trend for a continuation trend after the steeper one here. But notice how this one's it's a whole lot steeper than this one. A 45-degree angle is a healthy trend, and you want to see it. And that's probably is 45 degrees. This one was a little steep, and when you back out a little bit, this looks more 45 degrees, but it still, to me, looks slightly steeper than that. So, but anyway, I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I'm going to wrap it up for the week. Hope you had a good trading day. Hope you had a good trading week. We'll be back again to do it Monday. Hope everybody has. I haven't looked at the holiday. I'm not sure what the trading, with the 4th of July falling on a Tuesday. I'm not sure what Monday is like. If Monday's a regular trading day, I will most likely trade and have a mid-morning and put up a chart lesson. But we may go to the lake for the weekend. So if we do, I probably won't trade Monday, even if it's a full day. But I have not looked at the calendar yet. I'm just going to pause it and look real quick, just so I can tell you with confidence. Okay, yes, Monday is early close, and of course Tuesday the 4th will be an early close. So no trading Monday or Tuesday. We'll be back to do it Wednesday, and so we get an extra holiday because it falls on a Tuesday this week, or next week, or this year, I guess is what I meant to say. So anyway, we're going to get a nice long extended holiday break here, and I hope you enjoy yours, and you and your family have a great one. And we'll be back again to do it on Wednesday, July the 5th. So this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.